Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's everybody doing? It is July 1st, 2026. This is the RambleCast. I'm your host, Cody Toombs, and with me I have Corbin Davenport.
Hello.
Hello to Austin, Carson, and whoever else may be listening at the moment. Good to see your shiny names showing up in chat.
I will see the names as soon as the chat loads for me.
Indeed.
There's still some weird bug in Chrome-like browsers where the chat will just not load for a while after the page loads, and I don't have this issue in Firefox. So I think I need to open the chat in Firefox. One second.
Probably a good solution. And that's kind of weird, seeing as all those sites are definitely built with Chrome in mind.
Oh, there it goes. Yeah, I don't know if it's like something I'm doing interfering, some extension or something, but I've got it now. We're good.
So let's see. In terms of big news, it hasn't been the biggest week, but in terms of little news, oh boy. I don't know if that's even fair. Is this little news? Is this big news?
Depends on which news.
Fair enough. Um let's see. Carson's going to be taking off to watch the US game, the FIFA World Cup, right?
Yep.
Yeah. You've been watching some of those, I know.
Some of them, yeah.
I've
There's been a lot during like my working hours, and I'm having enough focus issues as it is, so I've not really been watching those. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of the matches. Admittedly, I'm not the biggest soccer/football fan.
Yeah, me neither.
You know, it's not bad. I'm not against it. I just there's not really anything about it that calls to me. Like I'm not compelled to watch it. But to be fair, I don't know that I've ever really given it a huge try either. So, take that for whatever it's worth. But hey, still obviously World Cup hits different. That I believe. I definitely could imagine it being kind of a different, not just different experience, but like, obviously, like there's more energy behind it. It's kind of like, I don't do this anymore, but I used to watch the Super Bowl. I wouldn't watch any other football during the year, but I would watch the Super Bowl, and yeah, it just hits different. It was a bigger thing. Austin, I completely agree. Landmines would make it a lot more entertaining. Or at least feel like there's higher stakes when the matches have hardly any goals. But yeah, something about watching the Super Bowl. At least it felt like it was more energetic. That the stakes were a little higher, which obviously being the final major game of the season, it should feel that way. You would expect.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, shall we break into our topics?
We can do that.
Well, I mean, we don't have to. It's an option.
Yeah.
It is entirely. It's something we don't have to do. We could literally just talk about how much we do or don't watch sports for the next couple hours, and
I'm just staring at my wall for an entire hour.
I mean, you do that anyway, right?
Sometimes you need to just zone out for a while.
It's valid. All right. Anyway, well, speaking of staring at a wall, I guess, let's talk about what's happening with physical game discs, which I'm just gonna precede this by saying okay, never mind. I'll save that comment for later. But anyway, the news has just come out today, in fact, that Sony is announcing that they are ending physical disc production starting January 2028 for new games releasing on PlayStation consoles. Um, I mean, there's not a lot in terms of like additional details. This is pretty much like the title says it all. Uh,
Yeah, they're mentioning it's for games releasing starting around January 2028. Supposedly, they'll keep manufacturing games that are already out or will be out before then. If those games get a physical release, and then for however long those continue to be manufactured, because the games are made in waves, and sometimes they'll go out of stock. So yeah, I guess the only like additional thing from them that is worth highlighting is their kind of excuse for this, which I'll read from this announcement. They say this is a natural direction for Sony Interactive Entertainment to adapt to consumer trends as the general preference for digital media significantly outpaces physical discs. This transition will enable us to align more closely with how most of our community prefers to access and play games today. So basically saying that like most people are buying games digitally, so we'll just do that.
which is kind of a that feels like a bit of a dishonest statement to make because they've been pushing so hard to make sure everyone is buying digital as often as possible. I mean, they
Yeah, and it's like that's not the point.
yeah.
Like obviously if there's a way to get a game you want in like a couple clicks and it starts downloading, obviously that's the one most people are going to pick because it's convenient. However, the disc is still kind of important for uh, something that you can kind of own. It's still not really owning because it's all just DRM keys now. But like you own it more than a digital copy, and you can gift it. Like you still can't gift PS PlayStation games to like other people,
Well, gift
unlike
or
Steam.
resell.
Right? Yeah, reselling. Just all the usual reasons that you might want physical media in some form. If you lose access to your PlayStation account, then there go your games. Um, so obviously, like it's not going to be the most popular solution for probably as long as digital sales is a thing, but like it kind of needs to exist. Um, Especially all of the usual arguments about archiving and preserving games, um, which to skip ahead for a second because I don't think we're going to talk about it much individually, but at literally at the same time as this announcement went out, Sony announced that the PlayStation Store will close soon for the PS3 and Vita, so you won't be able to buy games for those consoles anymore digitally, which is an issue because a lot of the games on there are only digital. So there's just not going to be a way to get that unless you're sailing the high seas with the hacked console. And I don't know how easy that is for the PS3 or Vita.
Um,
Um,
I haven't been paying close attention to this in a long time, and I never actually hacked my PS3. But last I heard, the PS3 was very jailbroken on at least some of its older firmwares. I don't know how that stands today. Um, but even so, uh, jailbreaks of the PS3, despite having been easy at least at one time, um, I can only imagine there's no one bothering to still do that. Like, it new work. So if they release an update tomorrow that basically blocks PS3 update, or that blocks jailbreaks, and assuming anyone actually updates, because I think at this stage no one really feels compelled to do that, then yeah, it would probably shut out a lot of PS3 consoles from being jailbroken. Um, at the same time, I'm not sure Sony cares. Like if at this stage someone were to go and find a jailbreak to the PS3 and release it, Sony's got to be in that position of like, you know what, we're not even going to be selling games for this thing anymore, guys. Just we're just going to pretend we don't see it.
Yeah, yeah, and it just sucks.
Yeah, and David, I was going to bring that up too. It's the used game market is basically going to be cooked more or less after this, with the notable exception of Nintendo. Nintendo, at least
Until
through the
they do the
Switch
same
2.
thing.
Yeah, right. I was going to, yes, exactly. Nintendo, at least through the life of the Switch 2, is probably going to still have physical games for pretty much all of its, at least major releases. Um, I don't know that I would make the same bet for the Switch 3 or whatever they release after this, because who knows, it might not be another Switch. But yeah, I wouldn't bet on Nintendo keeping physical copies necessarily. Though if any company were to keep going with physical copies, it actually probably would be Nintendo. They are the company that benefits most from sticking to physical.
I don't know, because Nintendo's also the company that like famously rarely puts its games on sale and like demands high prices for their games and consoles like throughout their entire lifetime. um like I think if you want to go out and buy Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the Switch, which is now a like 9-year old game or 9-year old re-release of like a 15-year old Wii U game, I'm pretty sure it's still $50. um so it, uh, I guess they're making it work right now with physical releases still a thing, but it is a lot easier to control those prices if digital is the only option where you have control over the storefront. And you're not competing with used sales, right? Because like I can go on eBay and buy someone else's copy for maybe $10-20 cheaper. But that doesn't become an option anymore if they drop physical. Which also on this note, it's not really clear if the next PlayStation console will even have a disk drive or an option to add a disk drive. So this introduces a really annoying. If that's the case, then that's really annoying for what has otherwise been pretty solid backwards compatibility in game consoles for the last 10 years, 10, 15 years. Because you can put in any PS4 disc in a PS5 and play it, excluding, the handful of games that are broken in backwards compatibility for whatever reason. And the same is true of Xbox, and more so for Xbox. If you have one with a disc drive, you can play some Xbox 360 games in there.
Okay, so it, you're correct. It is unclear, technically, whether they're going to have a drive on the next PlayStation. But I would argue at this stage, it's unclear in the sense that it hasn't been confirmed there won't be a drive. I think at this stage, if we're calling odds, like I would give it like a 1% chance that they would put a drive on it. I genuinely do not think that there's a discussion to be had there where that sticks around. And by that I mean I just don't think that there's any. I don't think there's any scenario where Sony wants to backpedal or backtrack or leave any ground where they might go back to releasing physical games. I think this is something Sony wanted to do a while ago. Truthfully, I you know, well, I I genuinely questioned if the PS5 was even going to have a disk drive before it was announced. I I really did not think it was going to happen. And I'm not saying that it was a full on, like, I'm predicting there will be no drive. It was more of a, well, I don't think Sony wants to have one. They might still have one because that might that might still appeal to enough of an audience, and they don't want to give that up. But I think Sony doesn't want to have one. And now here we are, however many years later, and I find myself saying, okay, Sony clearly doesn't want to have physical discs anymore. They want this part of history done with. They want to move on and be purely digital. They want everything to go through their store. They basically want to live like the Apple App Store life, where they control the distribution from beginning to end. They control who can download what. They can shut off accounts. They can give refunds directly. This sounds kind of crazy, but I think they actually probably like the idea of ending distribution through stores like Walmart and Best Buy and whatever else, because I don't think they want to be giving that money up to those stores for just displaying the games. And I think they know that there aren't that many sold through there, whereas they can just sell gift cards. Like, that's it. Just sell
Yeah.
gift cards
I
through those
mean,
stores. They can still
that's
make a little bit
based.
of money, and then Sony makes way more in the end.
I mean, that's basically what already happened to Xbox. Like, there were a lot of reports like a year or two ago, like when Xbox console sales were just flatlining, a lot of stores were getting rid of physical Xbox sales. And I saw it in my own, local Target. They used to have a row for Xbox games, just like the row for PlayStation and for Nintendo. And now that's been condensed to like half a shelf of like Xbox stuff with some of the like, game cards with codes on them. And like some a couple physical games, but it's like I'm assuming clearance things that they can't get rid of. And I know that's what a lot of other stores also did.
Okay, I'm assuming that Zen is Best Wolf is the person who just subscribed to the channel a few minutes ago. Thank you for joining. Um, Question: what are you two's thoughts on the knock-on effects that this may have on Blu-ray production on the whole? PlayStation consoles are by far, uh, uh, far and large, the most popular Blu-ray disc player, and PlayStation games were a major source of production demand for Blu-ray production facilities. Um,
Yeah, I was gonna bring this up after we had exhausted the console discussion. That's what I'm also very personally worried about. As someone who would like to continue occasionally buying movies and TV shows on Blu-ray, I think part of the arguments against Blu-ray going away was Sony still needs all of that for physical sales, physical game sales. So if that's not true, then the only customers become movie studios, because also no one uses Blu-rays for like personal backups anymore. I don't even know if I don't know if you can still buy like blank
you can,
Blu-ray discs.
yeah,
Okay.
you absolutely can. Um,
Very uncommon use case,
I'm
though.
not going
Like that.
to completely agree. I think there is still a contingent of people who definitely do still buy blank Blu-rays to do like personal backups of like photo libraries and stuff like that. Um, I also know of photography studios. They'll actually buy uh, blank blank discs so that they can back up photo shoots that they don't want to keep on like hard drives on a NAS and stuff like that. They basically just bank the huge stacks of Blu-rays so that they can, if a customer ever comes to them and says, "Hey, we had a wedding like 15 years ago, and we lost our photos in a fire or something like that. Can you print off a bunch of stuff?" They can go back and just pull out discs and be like, "Yeah, here we go. We've got everything right here." So, yeah, there's still usage. There's yeah, there's still use for sure of that. Um, as for like regular sales of movies, I feel like I look. I don't know for sure, but I remember when I believe it was Best Buy and somebody else. I forget which the other company was, but there were two companies, not at the same time, but like 6 months apart. They basically announced, yeah, we're just going to kind of stop selling movies. Like, just
Yeah.
Blu-ray movies aren't worth it to us anymore. We've got
I
shelf
want
space
to.
that we could make more money putting candy on that shelf space than having movies. So they did.
I
Like
want to
they
say it was Best Buy and Target.
that
I
might have
think
been it.
because I think Walmart still sells them because I very
They do,
rarely
yeah.
go into Walmarts, but I still see them there when I went last time.
No, Walmart for sure still sells movies. I
Yeah.
don't know how much. And honest, the weird thing is, I still see DVDs in there, like old
Yeah.
school DVDs. Like, really? Okay. Um, but when it comes to regular movie sales, I look. I don't think this is about production issues. This is just the shelf space isn't worth it to them anymore. They can if they can put something else that stands a better chance of selling, because people just aren't buying the physical movies. And in a way, I'm a little sad about this because I do acknowledge the quality coming out of a Blu-ray is generally going to be higher than what you get out of streaming, which doesn't have to be true. There's nothing about that that has to be true. It's just that is true because streaming companies, they want to save bandwidth that they can, and the way to do that is usually just degrading the image a little bit. And to most people's eyes, you can't tell. You'd have to be the craziest of pixel peepers to really notice that in most cases. Um, I think the bigger loss is the physical discs usually support and include extra features, and no streaming service out there really includes that. Like, streaming services
Yeah.
will have subtitles. They might have um, they might have a couple of extra commentary, or not comment. Well, yeah, they're not going to have like director commentary during the movie
Right.
like a lot of Blu-rays and DVDs used to. But they might have like some behind the scenes clips or something. Um, and
Yeah.
that's
Or
about
the
it.
streaming service just has like a weird release. Like this came up, like every once in a while there's a movie or show that has like a really bad like HD conversion or something, and you don't really want to watch that version, but you can still watch the version that's fine on the DVD or Blu-ray you already have,
Mm-hmm.
and we lose that option. Um, okay, so yeah, so Zen says Walmart does still have discs, but Target and Blu-ray used to have mini exclusive releases. DVDs still permeate the consumer market. Further, there are still a few releases only available as DVD. Yeah, that I have not looked into that. That's such a weird phenomenon. Like it makes sense because DVD play like if your only goal is like I want movies on discs, then a DVD player is still very cheap, and DVDs are very cheap.
I think there.
Austin said I'm gonna watch the next Christopher Nolan film on my phone. I'm gonna watch
um,
it on my iPod Nano.
oof.
If it still worked, my iPod Nano that plays videos has puffy battery, so that doesn't work anymore, unfortunately.
I don't know what all of you guys are doing. I'm gonna watch the next movie on my Zune. I do
Mm.
not own a Zune. Full disclosure. I'm sure I could buy
And
one for
buy
like
buy
five
it for
bucks.
the movie.
Yes. Um, I can't wait for the documentary film to come out about the Zune. Um, just so I can bring up again that I owned one for 12 hours before promptly returning it because oh boy, that thing sucked. Um,
I should get
anyway,
it soon. I have a Windows phone, but not a Zoom.
I have a few of those laying around somewhere.
This is the
Mine.
one I got partially out of morbid curiosity and partially to see what it would take for image share to work
Mm,
on Windows Phone web browsers, and it turns out not really much more work than I'd already done. Just that uh, before the iPhone, a lot of mobile browsers didn't tell any websites that they're mobile browsers. So
Yeah.
you have no way to identify them. Uh, so I had to add some code for that. But yeah.
So I do have a hunch that some movies it actually does make sense that there would be a lot of DVDs still coming out just because there are a lot of people who never made any sort of transition to Blu-ray, and so they still have DVD players in
Yeah.
everything.
And those
And
portable DVD players, like that
yep,
never really became a thing for Blu-rays. And I remember that being a thing like my family would use 10 years ago. Just like we're going on a car trip, get the portable DVD, get the movies. It's a lot easier than trying to
yep.
sync the iPad for the fifth time and something not working.
And to bring up uh, maybe this seems kind of like a weird comparison to make, but I think it actually fits. Uh, DVD is kind of comparable to SMS in that it's the like greatest common denominator
Right.
for technology. Like if you say, "Hey, I want to release a movie of this or that," like if you want to make sure that like if you can only really afford a certain type of production run, you know you're not going to make a ton of money producing uh, like stamping lots of copies of this in different formats. It kind of makes sense to say, well, uh everyone can play DVD. They're like this is the universal. Every single thing that has a drive can play DVD. Obviously, that's not entirely true. There are still CD players floating around in the world, but no one's putting a movie on those. Um, but yeah, you do not have certainty on Blu-ray, especially because Blu-ray also is not a single thing. There is no like there are multiple Blu-ray formats now. Like they did the initial Blu-ray back however many years ago, back in what 2006, I
Yeah,
think it was.
2005, 2006, somewhere
Yeah.
there.
They did that original format back then, and since then they have done multi-layer Blu-rays, which the original drives can't read. They've done, or well, certain versions of the multi-layer discs can't be read by certain drives. They have done higher compression. They've added various, certainly some various DRM features that are not supported anymore, or that sorry that aren't originally supported. Though actually, I believe the original DRM isn't supported in some newer players either because the keys were cracked. And yeah, there's just one thing after another where a lot of a lot of compatibility just doesn't fully exist across Blu-rays. So,
Yeah. And 4K Blu-rays are not backwards
oh yeah,
compatible.
4K of
You
course.
need a new player for that because
And
they're H.265, which I forgot about until I was watching. I just got Speed Racer on 4K Blu-ray and watched that. Fantastic. That's like that. There's not a lot of movies where I think I'm gonna be a snob about like what format I'm watching it in, but like that and like Tron Legacy are like I don't really want to watch this outside of very high bitrate video, or too much gets compressed and scrunched. But I noticed when I was pulling up the info panel for that on my PS5 that it was like showing it was HEVC. But yeah,
so one of the things you said, and just to sort of bring this up, you mentioned that that like portable Blu-ray players didn't really catch on or didn't really happen. A big part of the reason for that is Blu-ray is really power hungry. Literally just starting at the type of laser they have to use, that alone, if I recall, when I read about it years and years ago, I believe it was something like 4 times the power requirement of the regular red lasers that DVDs used. Not only that, but the decoding hardware that they have to use, because Blu-ray is just obviously encoded at a higher bit rate, and they're using, in order to do basic data compression, they're using an algorithm that's just also more computationally heavy. So yeah, they suck a lot more power, and naturally, like a portable player, those historically used to be able to play what, like maybe two movies on DVD back in the day. I only briefly saw them. I don't think I ever owned one. But you know, they could play through at least one and probably two movies, I think. Maybe you can confirm. Do you
I
remember?
don't remember. That was
Okay.
so long ago, and I never used the portable DVD player
Okay.
much. That was others.
But yeah, I would imagine, unless you pack a denser battery, you're probably not going to get that into Blu-ray. There,
Mm.
it's just gonna suck down so much more power. So you'd have to either go with a heavier battery, uh, or even just default to plugging it in. I don't know, but if the power if the power consumption is as much as I've heard, it would not make sense to power that off of a battery if you don't have to.
Yeah,
Um, Kind of in the same way that like video cards today consume so much power that like it's three or four times what a whole desktop PC used to be just like a decade earlier.
yeah. It's really a shame that like no one really there's not like a tech company that like kind of cares about this format at this point. Like obviously Sony has it, but like they're not, really trying to push adoption for it anyway. It's just sort of a thing they're doing because they have to.
I
Um,
mean, it,
like I was thinking about like I remember when Apple made the first MacBook Air, one of the compromises on that was no disk drive, which was more of an issue at the time. So they came up with this cool solution where if you had well, first of all, they sold a disk drive you could plug in as the easy solution. They also had this cool solution where if you had another Mac with a disk drive, or even I think a PC, a Windows PC as well, you could set it up as a network share. So you could put a disk in another Mac's drive and just wire over Wi-Fi, open those files on the MacBook Air. And I was like, I that's kind of the reason use I don't watch stuff on Blu-ray more, because like I have to be at my TV. I know like if I go through the process of like ripping it and putting it on my server and keeping it there for all eternity, then I can, watch my Blu-ray movies in bed or something. But like it would be cool if someone made a like just a wireless drive that then I could open on anything else I own and just watch a movie. You can't even do that over like PlayStation's streaming thing, like the thing they have for remote play. It just blocks copyrighted content.
hmm.
Like stuff like that would be nice to have, and I feel like again, there's more of a demand for this. I know Blu-ray sales are like still so low, relative to what they were 10 years ago, but like there is more demand for it as streaming services get more greedy. So like I feel like there's a little bit of an opportunity. It's still not a lot, but like it's something.
it, See, that's kind of the thing too. You were saying earlier, Sony doesn't seem to be pushing adoption, um, and I'm inclined to ask, why should they? Now,
Yeah.
granted, you just made a bit of a case for it by saying, now that streaming services are, well, as you said, getting greedier. I think it could fairly be argued that um, they're finally charging what it costs.
Right.
But and
Well,
don't get me wrong,
that and there's
I'm not
just
defending their
more.
price hikes. I'm just
Right.
I I think
Yeah.
it's more appropriate to say that they were trying to undercut and subsidize uh customer gain, hoping that they'd be able to balance the books later. And so they basically sort of drove physical media a little bit out of the market, which gets back to, of course, like, what is Sony's incentive to still be pushing adoption for uh, any Blu-ray format when, objectively speaking, like, they lost that fight 15 years ago to Netflix. As Netflix was growing at just leaps and bounds, and everyone went from, oh, we could rent movies by just going down to the local store and hitting a red box, or we could go to Blockbuster, oops, or we could go to Hollywood Video, again, oops. Like, people went from that to, oh, we don't have to put on clothes, we don't have to get in the car, we just pick up our remote and hit a button a few times. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can just watch anything. No returning it the next day. No goofing around with any of the stupid stuff. Like, you're saying we can just do all this stuff the easy way? Sign us up. Like, that's why Blu-ray lost ultimately, is it just got so much more convenient to use Netflix or even just like rent online.
Yeah.
So,
and now it's come full circle where
yeah.
it's like, where was the movie I wanted to watch? Which of the 15 services is that on? Why is the app for the 12th streaming service not working on my TV? You know,
Yeah, which
all that
which
fun
has
stuff.
also revitalized the other streaming service, the Pirate Bay.
Yeah.
Um, at which, man, if if only, I'm sure they have statistics on this, though probably not entirely accurate. But I have a feeling that the piracy scene is going very, very strong these days, in large part because it's impossible to keep track of where you can go watch a movie. There are whole websites now dedicated to that purpose alone. Like, do I want to watch this movie? Oh, well, you have to go on to Amazon Prime. Oh, I want to watch this other movie? Yeah, well, that originally was on this service, but then it got moved over to this other three services for exclusive rental, but then it dropped off of those, and
Mhm.
Netflix licensed it, and okay, that part probably wouldn't have happened anymore, but yeah, it's gotten so weird and annoying to track certain things down.
Yeah. Yeah. And Zen said, don't forget it coming back with different music due to licensing.
Oh god, that annoys me.
Different music, or just again, they're messing with like the colors. They did something funky in the up conversion. Like I think I'm pretty sure whatever copy you can buy of like Terminator 2 now is like really bad because it got converted from the 3D re-release, I think.
Mm.
Um, so
Um,
yeah.
yeah, the music licensing thing, I know that these aren't.
Also, also the Matrix. I think that's still like the best example of like this movie got released in like 8 different colors, and like some of them look okay.
Yeah, there's that. But no, music licensing, it drove me crazy because I know that this is going way, way back, but um, I remember watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, not the movie, the TV series, and they changed the intro music at one point in during the show because of a
Mhm.
licensing issue, and so all the DVD releases came out with the new music, and it's like, nope, this is wrong. This is so wrong. It doesn't hit at all right. And there were a few other shows that I used to love that similar things happened due to some sort of licensing thing. Like, they had licensing to broadcast with the music, but not to release DVDs with the music. And therefore, they had to go back and find different music. And in a few cases, like, it the music had been timed to specific events, like action sequences, and you watch it and it's like, no, what's happening here? The music doesn't fit this action sequence, or vice versa. Yeah, that really really screwed up a lot of stuff, very notably. The one that immediately comes to mind, a show that no one remembers, but it was called Fastlane. Uh, Surprisingly good show. It's a shame Fox canceled it. It classic sentence that has been said how many
I,
times?
you can say that like 300
Yeah.
ways. You
Fox canceled everything
you can
except
even
some of the
get
things it should
specific.
have canceled.
Yeah. You can even get specific with it. All those shows that Fox canceled after one season.
Fastlane was one of those shows, yes.
Yeah. That's like 80% of the ones they canceled too early.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure they're still regretting Firefly. Which, fun fact, just a little side note, Firefly is finally going to be coming back as an animated series with basically the entire original cast voicing it.
I thought that was still getting like pitched around. Did that actually start
Um,
production?
is I read something that said that had they had something that was basically lined up. Like I don't think it was fully greenlit, but like they had
Okay.
supposedly there was something where they were far enough into it where they basically had like kind of a verbal agreement of yeah, we're going to do this, but I don't think it's in production yet. And I'm not sure if it's like all the contracts are signed, but we'll see. Um let's see. It sucks so much they changed the music on Dairy Girls. That's a BBC show, and it literally ruined multiple scenes. Yeah, yeah, that's exactly it. You can't. Sometimes you cannot change the music. You just suck it up, guys. Pay the licensing fee. I'm sure somebody out there will be happy to receive a few extra bucks for their music.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll say one of my favorite Blu-ray experiences uh, while we're still doing this is I have the excellent Battlestar Galactica series on Blu-ray, and it's really fun because when I put it in the player, it shows me a warning that Blu-ray is a new format, and I should make sure my player is updated to run it correctly.
oh,
And
that's
then
spectacular.
like in the somewhere in the menus, it has like an option to show like the like menu controls if you're watching it on a PlayStation, as a lot of the early releases, because the PlayStation 3 was like the first big Blu-ray player. And when I open that menu, it does show the layout for like a PS3 controller. And it's really funny to see that on my PS5. I should get a picture of that or something. But yeah. Um, so yeah, I don't know what happens to like Blu-ray in general after this. I feel like it's not good. Um, but I guess the hope is that like there's still enough of a niche where it's worthwhile to keep factories running. Um, so I don't know.
I
Yeah,
think stamping of movies in general is probably going to dwindle. I wouldn't predict it like stopping, but I think
yeah. I mean, last I checked, like there's still like millions of unit sales on physical movies and TV shows. Like it's not like 17 people buying these. It is like a tiny fraction though, and obviously, I'm sure movie studios would prefer to again, it's the same as Sony. Like if you're keeping distribution entirely digital, you have full control over prices. You don't have to compete with used sales or clearance items or whatever. So
right. Well, also there is a very genuine and pretty obvious like reduction in cost.
mhm.
Because at the end of the day, producing producing stacks of DVDs that you have to one obviously just like have the discs, stamp them at a factory. There's costs associated with that. Package them inside of the Blu-ray um, containers,
Right,
the boxing,
the
whatever.
cases,
Yeah,
yeah.
cases. Why was that word hard for me to think of? Um, and then the really expensive part, you have to put them all into boxes and ship them to physical stores, or have them in Amazon and Amazon does the shipping. Whatever the case, like as you add up all those costs, compare that to, oh yeah, we streamed a gig and a half of data. Like, oh well. Like we had to put it onto a couple of hard drives where it sits, and then we stream it out. Like that is such a tiny fraction of the cost in order to serve a movie. Like, it just makes so much more sense from a cost perspective to stream whenever you can, as the producer. As a customer, I mean, it may vary by situation, but there is no doubt it just costs less to do pure digital. So I'm sure a lot of companies are looking at it from that perspective of just how much can we save by ending physical production. And also, so I'm going to agree with something you said, but I'm going to throw the unfortunate caveat at it. You said there's still millions of DVD or of Blu-rays being sold, and that's totally true. The catch is it's millions of like divided by tons of different movies. So you have an individual person who is buying, I don't know, I'm just going to throw out a number of like 50 movies a year, maybe more, maybe less, whatever, it doesn't matter. And each of those is a different movie. So how many copies are sold of an individual movie in Blu-ray format? And I have a funny feeling that that number then drops to like, oh yeah, we sold 50,000 copies. I don't know if that's high or low, but we sold 50,000 copies of such and such movie, like the latest Marvel movie or whatever, on Blu-ray. And at that point, all of a sudden it's like, that's it? 50,000? Or, you know, maybe the number's even lower than that. Like, oh, goody, you sold 20,000. Like, that's what the New York Times bestseller list numbers are actually like before the writers came and bought like a million copies of their own book. Like, the numbers aren't that good anymore. If you're telling somebody that like you printed off or you stamped, I don't know, 250,000 copies of a Marvel movie, but you only sold like 20,000 of them, then it's like, yeah, no, that sucks. Like, it might still be profitable because it costs so little to stamp and ship them out and stuff, but compared to what they're charging. But yeah, that's still a bad number. Like, I'm sure when they're looking at those statistics and going, oh yeah, we used to, back in like 2010, we used to be able to sell like, again, maybe it was like 250,000. I don't know. Again, I'm just totally making up numbers, but however many they used to sell versus how many they're selling now, I bet they're selling like 5 to 10% the number of physical copies now, if it's even that high. The more I think about it, I think that's even probably too optimistic. And it makes such a good case for, you know what, we just don't need to do this. Or if we're gonna do it, it should be and Zen brought this up with the like Steelcase example, it should be like special releases, because collectors will genuinely buy those. People are excited to buy that, and they'll pay the premiums associated with them. But buying just a generic, like, here's another Blu-ray in a regular Blu-ray case, people aren't that excited for that in 99% of movies. It's only going to be those very special cases where someone's like, ooh, hey, I'm totally willing to buy this just to be able to physically hold it and own it and show it off to people. Otherwise, and even then, like, people would rather have the exclusives, like the
which then makes it annoying to like just buy a movie you want at any given time. Because I had this issue with Tron Legacy where I missed the I guess 1 month they were selling Tron Legacy on 4K Blu-ray. I think it was around the time that like Tron Ares came out, and I was looking. I can't buy it at like a normal store. It's all like sketchy third-party Amazon sellers. So I just got a copy from eBay, and I hope that will work when it gets here, because I think it's a version that was sold in like Northern Europe.
Oof.
So We'll see. We'll find out.
Um, so
But
yeah,
I would have
going,
loved to just go to a store and buy that.
yeah.
That would have been cool, or even just order it from normal Amazon.
So yeah, going back to what I'm sure Zin was really also asking, and I know we kind of touched on this, but to, I guess, punctuate it, with PlayStation not really being a player for Blu-ray coming in the future, or at least that's my prediction. I'm
Mhm.
sticking to my theory that I think the PS6 just doesn't have a physical disc drive. Um, yeah, I think that Blu-ray is just generally going to kind of vanish as a medium. Um, for mainstream use. There will still be Blu-ray players. I don't think that that stops for like a good 10 years. There's still going to be at least, some players in stores, even if like you could walk into an electronic store today and find, I don't know, 5, 6 different players. In 10 years, you'll probably walk in and find like, oh, there's the one that they keep around just for the random person that might come in and buy it. Or it's like their leftover stock that they still can't get rid of, whichever the case may be. Um, but yeah, all physical. This happened to all physical media though. There was a time where you could walk into an electronic store and buy a tape player, and those don't exist anymore. Like they're gone. You could
Mhm.
find them. I'm sure you can find them on Amazon and eBay, and that's about it. Like you're not gonna find tape players in any physical store anymore unless it's like used stuff from ages ago or an antique store even. I say antiques, but I'm sure it's not quite that kind of a thing, but you get what I mean.
Mhm.
Um and yeah, well, oh god, vinyl pisses me off.
It, no, I got fucking gaslit by Target with this because
No.
I went to the store and I'm going past the shelf and I see what appears to be music CD, like a big shelf of music CDs, and I'm like, wow, did Target start selling normal CDs again? I would like to buy some if there's some there that is not a Taylor Swift album, because that was like the only other one I saw consistently. And it turns out that those are small vinyls that are like the size of CDs. And I was like, I just got gaslit into thinking that you were selling CDs again. I feel insulted.
I'm still blown away, and I have a photo of this.
I
Um,
guess I have to wait another 10 years for CDs to wrap around and be cool again until for that to be an option.
I don't know that that ever happens, but I wish you luck, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, let's see. Oh, come on, Google Photos, don't fail me on this one. Um, if you could see what I'm using as a search term. Oh, that didn't work. Okay. Um, Here it is. Okay. So, I made a comment about this back when it happened in what year was this? 2023. I was walking through Walmart for the first time in ages, and um, I stumbled onto, or I walked into the electronics section, and I just glanced over. Wasn't really paying attention at the time, and zooming in photos sucks. But I see this section of l- large music covers, and I'm just looking at it, and it takes my brain a good like 15 seconds to fully clock. These are vinyl.
Mhm.
Walmart is selling vinyl. And the thing that immediately jumped out to me is I'm seeing and Corbin, I don't know if you're watching stream, but I've got this up right now. But I'm seeing Britney Spears' first major album right next to a Billie Eilish album. And I'm just looking at this going,
How to
What is
confuse a
happening
time
here?
traveler.
Yeah. Like, how is this happening? How am I looking at vinyl? I mean, vinyl of a new artist at all seems kind of crazy to me. At least selling in a store. Like, if you're selling this as like special edition stuff out of like a unique distribution method, okay, fine. But when it's selling in Walmart, I don't get it. Like, this confuses me. Um, and the mere fact that there's vinyl floating around of Britney Spears' first album also just seems odd to me. And again, why is it in Walmart? Um, and
Because you're
then
the only one selling
yeah,
physical media anymore.
evidently. Um, but yeah, just seeing this was such a weird experience to me. And when I say vinyl pisses me off, it's entirely because of the lies that hardcore vinyl fans tell themselves. Um, and I'm just gonna say this and assume that no one disagrees with me, but uh, vinyl. There is this whole thing about vinyl is sounds more correct, more pure, that it's the best version of audio. It's categorically false. The digital recordings are 100% higher quality than you're ever going to get out of vinyl. What people like about vinyl is that little bit of extra like scratchy sound that comes out of it. This has actually been proven in a real test where they played digital versions of music to people. Then they played uh, people thought they were hearing a vinyl version of of the same song, but what they had actually done is they took a blank record, recorded just the sound of that playing, a blank. So they got the scratchy sound and they overlaid that on top of the same digital copy, and people were convinced that that was the better version. So I mean, I'm sorry, but as far as I'm
Yeah,
concerned,
I mean,
it's conclusive enough. Like,
yeah,
people
you
have
can
lied to themselves on this.
buy it because it's fun. That's allowed.
Yeah,
But
and if you like the
it's just
ceremony
not
of vinyl, great, great.
right.
Cheers. Have fun with it.
We're
I
all allowed to have silly purchases that maybe aren't, empirically the best way to do something. That's fine. We all need a break from
Yeah,
the horrors,
yeah.
and sometimes it's just buying a silly disc that has music on it that you're playing in an old timey fashion.
Yeah. So I look, I'm not mad at the existence of vinyl. I'm mad at the culture that exists around it. Um, just like I'm mad at Go developers, because the language is fine. The people that like the language are mostly terrible. Um, and don't at
Ooh.
me. Actually, no, at me. I want to tell all of you off if you at me for this. Um, but no, this. Yeah. So anyway, what I was saying, and it's physical media of any kind eventually gets replaced. Um, Again, like, we're not still using those old drums that they use in like phonographs. The wax drums, those are gone. Like, no one's
Mhm.
seen those things outside of a museum in a, I don't know, 60 years. Probably, what am I saying? 60 years is probably a lot longer than that. Has to be. Um, Vinyl, yeah. As Zen said it perfectly, it died, then it came back. Arguably, it never quite died because there was, like, even during the time period where tape and CDs were the predominant physical media, there was still use for vinyl in like the DJ scene and a few other scenarios. Um, but yeah, it effectively died as mainstream media. Um, and then obviously, yeah, after that it was tape, it was CDs. Those came and they died. DVDs came and should have died technically, but they're still, obviously, as previously discussed, kind of still around. But yeah, everything comes, it has its time, and then it gets replaced. Right now, we're pretty much into the full just pure digital stage where it's either streamed or it sits on a thumb drive. That's it. And do we ever replace that? I don't know how we would, but maybe. I guess at this stage, it's talking about codecs is the new replacement process, because whatever it used to be stored in, like MP3, who still stores music in MP3? Come on, we should have all moved to AAC or
well,
Flock or sorry, FLAC.
Probably me. I've never like tried to compare like file sizes between different formats. So I just do 320 MP3, and that's what a lot of my rips are.
Well, in fairness, if you're doing a podcast or if you're doing anything for production purposes, nobody cares. Like if MP3 is the most convenient, just use MP3. No one minds that. I'm thinking more in terms of like if you're downloading music at all, you're probably getting it in AAC. Or if you're pirating music, it's gonna be FLAC or what's the other one?
Apple's thing.
No.
Apple has something that's. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's not where you thought I was going.
That's lossy. Apple has something like FLAC that's lossless. I forget what it's called. I think it's called Apple Lossless.
Probably.
I don't know what the
I think so.
extension is. Apple Lossless.
Let's see. Zen had a lot to say after that. There's a growing diaspora. I always have to stop and think about how that's said. There's a growing diaspora of Gen Z consumers who are willing to indulge in physical media. We know it's less convenient, and that's what attracts you. I have heard this. I don't get it. I guess I get it a little bit because it's the same as vinyl fans who like the ceremony of changing records. So I get it from that sense, but in pretty much every other way, this sounds weird, but you didn't grow up on the days of like having a CD player hooked to your car and having to change discs while you're driving, or skipping, or any of the things that sucked about that. If you grew up in this, you would hate everything about it. Sorry, what'd you say?
I do kind of want that back because it's really annoying to open. Well, again, because I have an iPhone and Siri is really stupid, I have to open apps to start playing music.
Okay, well, yeah, but that's because you're using Siri.
Dude. That could be solved in a different way, yes. But
get an Android phone. No, actually, Android phones are pretty much ruined thanks to Gemini right now.
Siri, please play my music, and it's like, all right, doing a Google search for music.
Oh, wow! Siri actually got the word music right in this scenario. Yeah. You're lucky, from what I
starting
understand.
An alarm for music.
Yeah, starting an alarm for Google search for play. Yeah. Let's see. Some of us are aware of the fact that our interest and ability to browse is directly controlled by third parties. Okay, that I get. That one I do get, because you feel like feeling like a victim of the algorithms does make like detaching from the algorithms kind of a lot more appealing. Because like there are times I've turned on YouTube Music and just trusted it to play music for me, which, man, is always a mistake. Their music guessing algorithm sucks. But man, sometimes it comes up with stuff and it's like, why is this being played to me? Is it literally because the licensing terms are just better to YouTube to play this track than to play some other tracks? Because I bet that's the explanation. We can't simply browse and ask friends. We consume a feed of algorithm. Okay, yep, exactly what I was just saying. The friction between forced to browse, read about, select, and then play a film is quite desirable, especially when you have never known anything else. Wow. Okay, so I think I just said all the same, or we're both thinking the same things here. Um, Happily trade off convenience of being forced to sit down in front of my TV to consume a film if it means I don't have to hunt through 10 services, 3 accounts, or Plex libraries. To be fair, I feel like Plex is the digital, well, Plex or Jellyfin. It's kind of the digital version of the old school thing where you have the conveniences of streaming. You don't have to get up and physically put a disc in or mess around with any of that stuff. And you get the advantages of search and uh, like being able to download subtitles, etc., etc. But you're not algorithmically uh, shoehorned into whatever. Like it's just you go find the thing, and then now you have it in a streaming or in a library that you can manage and control and whatever. But yeah, everything else about all the other services, yeah, 100% fully fits.
I will co-sign as an elder Gen Z. I'm right on the border, but I by most definitions I am in there. Although for me it's more just I'd like to. I know I'm going to watch this again, and I don't want to have to know which streaming service is on. And also, again, for some things, I'm like going to be really sticky about the quality of the video, and I don't care what everyone else said. I can. There's some stuff where I don't care about the video quality that much. Other stuff I really do care, or like makes it noticeably better. So
yeah.
okay, like Speed Racer. Speed Racer in 4K HDR. My goodness, you're just overstimulation of the eyes for like 2 hours. It's great.
Nice. Okay, I want to
Yeah.
push back on one little thing Zen said in the very last comment. You're half right on this. Records back in the day were flimsy and thin. 100%. Like there was that, oh man, those things broke super easily if you weren't really gentle with them. So they've been made thicker, but that doesn't change their quality level. Now, granted, the ability to stamp them has improved, so quality has improved from that perspective, but they still can only be made with grooves that go only so deep. And while the material has also probably changed a little bit, the reality is you have to balance between like how deep the grooves go, how precise they are, because the needle still has to be able to go over that surface and produce good sound. The needles do wear out, the vinyl will wear out, and the two of them against each other kind of like a recipe to wear out no matter what. So no matter what, though, you have to strike that balance. So they cannot really like increase the durability of the surface too much, otherwise it damages the needle too quickly. And you can't you can't try to make it too precise or too perfect, because the more perfection you have, the more quickly the needle itself will wear through that perfection. So the quality level has increased. Certainly, yes, it has increased, but it's not like leaps and bounds. It's still limited by the physical characteristics of vinyl that has to be played by running a sharp needle over it. So, I mean, so yes, it has improved, but it has a ceiling on how much it can improve. Whereas, you know, strictly speaking, obviously this is a ridiculous thing, but I'm just going to say it. In theory, there's never been anything stopping us technologically from using a Blu-ray disc to play music. I mean, very literally, if we wanted to go to that extremely stupid option, we could put Blu-ray, or we could put music on a Blu-ray disc and be like, hey, it is 3,000 megabit quality. or whatever. I don't know. I'm just picking a random absurd number. But like you could go to a quality level that is just the equivalence of like raw photos for music, whatever that would be. Like it's not just lossless. It's like we're recording the metadata as like microphones are picking it up. Every single thing that could possibly be detailed, you could put it on a Blu-ray disc and have something that is equivalent to any master copy that they've ever made. We're not doing it. Is Blu-ray audio a thing? Okay, I haven't heard about it, but I doesn't surprise me. It's just I've never heard of it. But
I think I've heard of that in the context of like weird things that the PS3 supports that like nothing after it did,
that makes sense.
or at least as far as consoles go. Maybe those still work in dedicated players, but I remember that being a thing when I was trying to research Blu-ray support in modern consoles. But yeah, okay. So I need to change topics. We've been talking about Blu-rays for an hour and a half, and I only have time for like one more topic now.
Okay, so as kind of just to wrap this up, because we did also have this other piece of news. Xbox is testing a disc to digital feature. So basically, Xbox, I'm sure, has been waiting on Sony to be making this same announcement, or maybe it was vice versa. Because obviously, in the same day, both companies had like all their news pop out that they kind of
Well,
want to get rid
this
of discs.
yeah, this was a rumor report from Tom over at The Verge, uh, whereas the Sony thing was like an official announcement. This is just a rumor reporting,
Mm-hmm.
mentioning that Microsoft is internally testing a feature that would let you, take the license key that would normally exist in a physical disc and just move that to a equivalent digital copy.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some migration path that exists, like all the same issues of like not having physical games still applies, but like at least you're not leaving behind your entire physical game collection if you want a newer console, which is something Sony has not yet announced. Which maybe they will, because Microsoft has not announced this either.
Yeah, and
But
I was gonna say I really hope Sony does this because I have several games I would love to be able to just put in, let them get read, and then activate it on my account. And I will happily dispose of the discs after that. I don't need them. I don't care. I will be done with them at that stage. But not
yeah,
that
we
I
don't.
don't still care about physical media, but still, let's be honest. Um, but yeah, it would be really good if this is a feature that both companies will someday support.
Yeah, so that's fun. For the 7 people that will buy the new Xbox, that's fun. Um, all right, so which one of these do you want me here for? Because I only have time for like one more topic, and then I got to bounce.
Well, can we say two, but let's rapid fire this T-Mobile thing because I have no idea what this is about and I don't care about it.
Okay,
But uh,
so rapid fire T-Mobile, and then I'm here
and
for.
then let's talk about the Apple thing because I think you'll have more to say about that. Oh
Okay,
crap!
all
As I
right.
look over some of the other stuff, I'm not sure. I don't know. What do you? Well, let's rapid fire the T-Mobile, then I'll let you pick. What do you want to talk about? Because I have surprisingly few things to say about half of the other stuff.
I'll do the T-Mobile and the Apple and the Docker thing, and then I can bounce because those are all, again, if you don't derail, it should be quick.
If I
Okay,
don't
so
derail, okay.
yeah. First thing, T-Mobile is increasing prices for a lot of people. So again, normal carrier thing of if you have a legacy plan that you've not moved on for all of like um, sorry, I just completely lost my train of thought. If you have an older legacy plan that you've had for a while and you've kind of just been coasting on that, it's eventually those get migrated to some newer plan and you have to pay more. And that's exactly what's happening now. So a bunch of older T-Mobile customers on Simple Choice 1 and Magenta plans uh, are getting moved to like a some internal SKU where you will have to pay a bit more. This is really confusing in part because T-Mobile is also giving people completely different answers. Um, and a lot of this information is coming from support people, which important thing to keep in mind. I think this is like a not well-known thing in tech journalism and tech reporting. Is like what a customer service rep tells you is not necessarily true because number one, they're human, they make mistakes, they're stressed out. You would also be stressed out if you were dealing with, customer support online all day. Number two, in most cases, their job is to get you off the call or the chat or whatever, not necessarily to tell you what's true. They're trying to wrap it up because that's what they're judged on. So anytime you see like a news announcement that's like this customer support for this company said this, so that it's going to happen. No. You need more confirmation than that. So that's important to keep in mind. So there's a lot of information that like T-Mobile customer reps are saying about this and like telling people different answers. So it is really confusing, but the gist is that a lot of people on older T-Mobile plans are getting bumped to more expensive tiers, and it's obviously annoying. And I think I forget the exact price range. I think I saw numbers like anywhere from like $5 to like $25 a month more per line, depending on which plan you're on to start with. Um, and also, some tablet and wearable plans are getting an increase of $3 per month. Some home internet lines are getting an increase of $6 per month. So, I don't think there's like really like a reason why like this specific price increase is notable. It's just all of them together is another example of maybe we shouldn't have let all the carriers merge because this was always going to happen, is that when there's less competition they can just increase prices. And again, they all do that anyway, but now there's one fewer company to keep T-Mobile honest. And all of the, I think T-Mobile got a lot of people seriously convinced in like the quote unquote uncarrier
Yeah.
era that like they were different. They're different and they're not gonna rip you off. But yes, they will, because
Well,
they're a phone carrier in the United States, and that's just what we do here.
I would argue they are different because they're ripping you off more than AT&T and
Yeah.
Verizon do. And that's just my opinion, and it's not fact. You can't sue me. Okay, so I'm gonna throw. Okay. See, here's me derailing, but I am gonna push back a little bit on that part about shouldn't have let them acquire Sprint. Um, where do you think Sprint would be today if that deal hadn't gone through?
Probably dead,
Yeah,
but
it wouldn't have existed anyway. There's a chance that someone else would have bought Sprint and tried to carry it forward as a service still, and who knows, maybe
mhm.
it would have succeeded, maybe not. I think more than likely what would have happened is someone would have bought it. They would have failed to carry it forward, and then they would have dismantled it and sold the spectrum and a few other things off in parts. And at that point, T-Mobile very likely buys the spectrum, or it ends up in the hands of AT&T and Verizon. And at that point, maybe T-Mobile isn't around today either, because without joining Sprint's customer base with T-Mobile and gaining all the assets, T-Mobile might have not been able to compete either. I don't know. I'm just saying that was
Yeah,
probably going to happen anyway with Sprint. It was going to go downhill and cease to exist. We may actually be better off today because T-Mobile at least got big enough to compete with AT&T and Verizon. So, look, and that's just the theory. Who knows? Obviously,
Yeah.
it could have ended up in entirely different circumstances. Maybe if Sprint and T-Mobile continued existing separately, they might have started clawing back some of their customer base, and maybe today Verizon would be uh, going bankrupt, or AT&T,
Yeah, and
but we don't know.
yeah,
But
and
right now, I think we're actually, as weird as this is, I think we're probably still in the best of the outcomes that we could have asked
well,
for.
there also could have been a potential scenario where T-Mobile was allowed to merge with Sprint, but the concessions they had to make would
Okay,
have been
yes.
different.
Yeah,
Because
they're
again,
all
like
completely agree. There should have been more requirements and concessions placed on that
right,
deal.
at the time, when the court was like, okay, you can do that. However, you have to let Dish be a carrier. And everyone was like, Dish has messed that up every time. You shouldn't let them do that.
I mean, is Dish
And
even a carrier
when
now? Do they
I don't
have
think so. That's
customers?
the thing, is they like set up a whole nationwide network, and then I don't know what they have moved to it.
I really don't think that ever happened. I swear I think that was BS from the start. I think it still is.
It was well,
Even if
it
they
was
have
in
some
some city.
customers, that's not a
Yeah,
meaningful number.
it was in some cities. The last I heard about it is that it was just going to be like a network that like Boost Mobile customers would roam on sometimes. I don't know what's happening there now. I've not caught up. But um and oh, okay. Well, here's an article from a day ago. I'll
Oh
put this in
no.
the YouTube chat.
Oh no.
EchoStar's satellite pay TV unit Dish DBS and its wireless subsidiaries have filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The move addresses impending debt maturities and facilitates the wind down of Dish Wireless's 5G network operations following an unexpected delay in a Spectrum license sale to AT&T. All right, well done, everyone. We did it. We made it. We made a new 5G network that then died almost immediately.
And is now doing exactly what I just sort of accidentally predicted, which is selling off that
Yeah.
spectrum to AT&T. Which, okay, of all the networks, actually, I think AT&T probably is the one that needed it more. I don't know. Actually, I'm not sure. Maybe it is Verizon, but regardless, like, yeah, that was always the inevitable. Like, if you've got random spectrum floating around, it's just going to get soaked up by the carriers. Whichever
Yeah.
carrier can shovel out the most money is probably who gets it. So yeah, this feels like the predictable outcome.
We live in the silliest country. Um, okay,
Yay,
so
capitalism.
that's T-Mobile. Minor updates for Apple stuff. Apple announced some updates to pretty much all of its Creator Studio apps, which includes Pixelmator, Final Cut Pro, Keynote Pages, Numbers, Logic Pro, also the apps that connect to Final Cut that I always forget the name of. Um,
Oh,
so
like compressor and
yeah,
motion.
yeah, those. So I'll just go down the list because there's not really a good way to organize these, I think, and Apple also kind of struggled to do that. Um, so they mentioned that there is now the ability to generate captions in Final Cut, which already existed. So I couldn't tell exactly what was new. It looked like in their screenshots they're showing kind of a more like more display options or the ability to highlight like which word is being said at a given moment, kind of like TikTok does, or you have the option of like showing words on the screen. I know Final Cut's current implementation, which I have used, is just like it will listen to a clip and make the subtitle track for that, but like it's just normal subtitles that aren't necessarily burned into the video; they're just like on the track.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so it's got that. It has auto mask, which is a different thing from the auto. I also forget what that's called. The thing they had for just automatically getting a cutout of an object in a video. Um, so just a lot more like small AI enhanced features like magnetic mask. That was the thing that existed already. So they mention a simple hover over a clip brings up a live preview of what has been detected, or users can choose from the list in the inspector, making it seamless to pair the mask with any color correction or effect for precise adjustments. So like the demo they're giving is like you feed it a video of like a person and it's making masks for their hair, their face, their clothes, whatever other objects are in the scene, and then you can do different color grading on each of those, which is cool.
Yeah,
Um,
stuff that at this stage, I know DaVinci has it. As far as I'm aware, I believe Premiere Pro has it's this or something similar enough. Um, to be fair, this used to be a relatively manual process where you typically select something not necessarily by its shape, but by its um, like its existing color, maybe luminous values. In some cases, you might just do soft masks around certain things anyway. Um, but yeah, it makes sense to do it this way. It's just a little bit like the lazy way, the easy way, which is good. It's faster.
yeah, yeah, and they mentioned that there's also a reimagined match color, which produces more accurate and natural color matches across different lighting conditions. Advanced trimming. Motion now has native support for keeping vector graphics crisp at any resolution. Compressor also has better support for like the Apple Vision Pro's video format. Final Cut Camera can now
That's
do HDMI out.
if anything should support Apple's formats, it is compressor.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that is literally the function of compressor. But okay.
yeah. And then Pixelmator Pro. One thing they showed off is that you can now send like one frame in Final Cut to Pixelmator Pro to do quick edits, kind of in the same way you can send like pictures in Lightroom to Photoshop and then bring it back, which is that's neat. And similar integration in Keynote Pages and Numbers, which is Apple's Office suite. You can pick an image in a document and send that to Pixelmator, and then bring it back. Um, and then some updates to Logic Pro, basically more just like music recording and editing improvements. Some new synthesizer stuff. Again, I keep hoping they will add something for podcasting in there, but they never do. Um,
It's it should yes, they absolutely should. But man, it's that is not technically what the software is designed for, and
I know
that's not the
it's
audience that they expect, which sucks.
yeah,
Because they should. There's so many people who
it's
use it for podcast editing.
I use it for podcast editing because it's fine. I changed my keyboard shortcut so I can, trim bits of audio out. I do wish it would have the features of the other ones where it can like automatically take out, long pauses and ums and things like that. But like I can still do that myself. It's still better than Audacity. And I think that's mostly it. Yeah, and again, I mostly get annoyed at the lack of podcasting stuff in Logic Pro because GarageBand on Mac used to be pretty good for podcast editing and like had like really robust support for chapters and episode metadata, and that all got ripped out at some point. And I would at least expect that to be in the super premium offering, even if it's not in base GarageBand, but it's also missing there. So that's just a weird regression.
I I I don't edit podcasts really ever. Um at least not currently, but one of these days I want to try doing it in DaVinci because I want to see if DaVinci actually offers some of this stuff. I have a feeling, or I think it kind of does. Maybe not focused for podcast editing, but I feel like it might be
Right.
fairly quick at that still. Um
Yeah. And yeah, nothing's changing with the app availability. So, you can still buy the one time purchase versions for Mac. That's still there. Otherwise, it's a subscription on Mac and iPad. And yeah, so
Yeah, which
all the Apple stuff.
still feels a little icky to me that you can't make purchases on some of this stuff, at least for iPad.
Yeah, the
Um,
iPad apps are only, which again, Apple not beating the allegations of the iPad not being a real computer. It's like, well, why doesn't it have the same purchase options as your Mac?
well, I wouldn't make that about the real computer argument. To me, that's more Apple realized, oh, coming out with some software and charging a one-time fee of blank amount, and
Right.
oh yeah, it just like we're just going to keep
We will,
supporting it. Like Final
yeah,
Cut, people who bought Final Cut 10 years ago. It's actually older than that now, since Final Cut Pro X, which has now just been renamed Final Cut Pro. Um, since that version came out, you bought it the one time for, let's say, 300, and or with discounts of whatever kinds. Um, yeah, if you got that back then, it's been more than 10 years. You prorated the cost of that software down to $30 a year at at least, if not better. And every year after this, it just keeps prorating that money down more and more and more until, eventually, uh, someone someday will be able to say, "Oh yeah, I spent effectively $10 a year to own Final Cut forever." Uh, Obviously, Apple would prefer that not to be possible. Um,
Yep, I'm glad I got the big education bundle uh, with my definitely still legitimate student email back when that was an option a couple years ago.
mhm.
Because that student bundle does not exist anymore. They did get rid of that. You do have to pay individually. Uh, you know, what is it, like $300 per app?
Well, it's
Final
300 for
Final
Final
Cut.
Cut, 200 for
Yeah,
Logic Pro, and
yeah,
then it drops off to like $50 for various others.
yeah.
And for whatever reason, Main Stage is still $30. I've never understood that one. That
I've
makes
never opened it. I don't. I don't know what it does.
it's for live DJs, like music
Okay.
control. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it admittedly it doesn't do a ton. Like, it's actually a relatively simple piece of software, from what I understand. I've never actively used it, but yeah,
Mhm.
it seems to be fairly simple. So I guess I get why it's $30, but at the same time, this is Apple. Like, why is the piece of software that the fewest people are going to use uh going to be so cheap? You'd think that they would want to like scrape a little more money off of people. Um, and that being said, I still hold to the theory that I had ages ago. I think Apple actually would be smart to make a couple of these things free. Um, Maybe not everything, but make a few of these things free. Maybe move a few things to like paid feature unlocks and stuff like that. But if if people felt like you buy a Mac and or an iPad and you just automatically get like their Office apps, pages, numbers, Keynote, if there's any others, um, and like you should just again like buy your Mac and you just automatically should have a video editor. The same purpose GarageBand or iMovie. The same
iMovie,
purpose
yeah.
iMovie served, the same purpose GarageBand served, the same purpose like these are free apps, right? Your GarageBand is free now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And iMovie was free while it existed. Um,
It still exists, but
oh no,
Apple
it
has
doesn't.
definitely forgotten about it.
Yeah, I
It's very sad. It's a shell of its former self.
I genuinely wonder if it's even been updated to like with the newest SDKs for the current platform.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
that I
sure
would even
they
doubt.
I think they put the new icon on, and that's about it.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
Um but yeah, there's a part of me that just thinks that they should axe the things that aren't really doing anything for people anymore. Make the more pro versions free, and then like I said, you can put some stuff behind like feature unlocks or whatever. But uh, yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, more updates for those apps. That's cool. Last thing I've got is the WSL container is now available for public preview, which the backs this was something that was announced at Microsoft Build. Um, is so a lot of software development now, or like if you're setting up an app on a NAS or a server or something, it's probably using Docker, which is like a little lightweight VM thing you can use to package software together in a container and run it, and it doesn't really matter what the host operating system is. Um, and that's great and all, but Docker as an entity is not super great. They've been really annoying about some license stuff and the Docker desktop applications. And so there has been some efforts to make ways to run Docker containers without the Docker software, just like grabbing the images from wherever they are and running them on a independent stack, you know, in the same way that like you have a web browser and there's like different engines for loading that content, just different implementations of the same technology. So Apple announced one, I think at WWDC this year, which is called Container. It's just a thing you can use to run Docker containers on macOS, and it's written in Swift. Um, and Microsoft is also working on something similar that they announced at Build, and now it is available in public preview. It is a command line tool for just running Docker containers on Windows. And they mentioned when you update to the latest WSL version, which is the Windows subsystem for Linux, like it's a little lightweight Linux thing, you get a new binary that you can use to run Linux containers in Docker. It's basically like instead of typing like Docker run whatever, you're typing this WSLC run and then your commands. And I believe it has like a lot of the same syntax, and like you can use Docker files for automation. Basically just reusing the stack that Microsoft already made for running Linux kernels on Windows. And they even mentioned that like it's a feature apps will be able to use. So if you have like an IDE or something that like needs to run a task in a Linux environment, it can just spin up a not Docker image and get the result from that. So pretty cool. It's nice to not have to rely entirely on Docker's technical stack, because again, they have been annoying about some things. My main issue with this and Apple's implementation is that they do not support Docker Compose, which is the extra functionality that lets you run like multiple images and have them talking to each other or sharing files. Because I have my image share web app, which is written as a Docker Compose project, so like I couldn't run that in these tools. And maybe I'll rewrite that so it can. But I haven't. That's more work that I don't really want to do right now. But yeah, like if you just need to spin up a little Linux container VM for whatever you need, there's going to be more ways to do that than installing the Docker software, which is good, because Docker Desktop is getting really annoying.
yeah,
Like every time I open it, it asks me to like sign up for like their AI chatbot thing.
yeah. I have disliked Docker's software stack for a long time. And so I'm already a fan of anything that separates us from that. And then I already noticed like various NAS manufacturers, their software has already been like doing this for a while. Like they've slowly been either they've been trying to separate from Docker's software stack, basically just using the engine itself and then providing their own UI, or it seems like a couple of them have gone full scale, like, no, we're just going to re-implement this our own way and
Right.
like cut Docker out entirely, which, yeah, please. I
Yeah.
I can't think of anything that would be a better idea than cutting Docker out of this equation, because they came up with a
Yeah.
good idea. They implemented it reasonably well. And then I think they've been trying so hard to find ways to make money that uh, they they just made their software horrifically bad. And they weren't the software wasn't very good to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah, now containers are sort of just critical infrastructure for a lot of server things or just
Yeah.
running software. Like I was trying out, I think it's called Archive Box. I was trying out a few different ways of backing up web pages for something I'm doing for work. And that was one of the popular options. And the main way they like ask you to install it is as a just Docker container. Like you spin up a Docker container and then it makes like a web UI. I remember a lot of like AI projects doing that a year or two ago. Just like if you have something that needs a bunch of different frameworks and libraries and things patched together, a lot of them are just distributed as a Docker thing because you can just wrap all that in one OS image and call it a day. You don't need to be like recompiling everything for Windows or Mac or Linux, um, which isn't my favorite trend in software development, but I understand why it exists, why we're like in the same way as like Electron. Like I would, obviously love if more desktop software was native, but I understand that multi-platform desktop app development is just a living hell, and this is the best replacement we've come up for it. But yeah, so that's something fun to run if you want to try that on Windows. And again, Apple's thing is just called Container, Apple Container. You can go to their GitHub and try it out. And that does need macOS 26. So if you're holding off on Liquid Glass, you cannot try that. It's not for you.
For shame. But no, I think that's fine. Um, and yeah, I'm honestly tempted to give that a shot because there's a lot of instances where I kind of actually want to experiment with uh, producing the container and testing it, and doing so with Docker software. Just in my opinion, sucks. It's not a good experience. So yeah, be kind of interesting to mess with this and just see how it goes. Though I also very much look forward to somebody building a nice, I guess you could call it a harness for this, because I'm sure that's what'll end up happening. Just a good front end to do this stuff instead of relying entirely on command line for everything.
Yeah, that would really be nice if Apple did that.
Well, yeah,
For
Apple
their
should do
for their
that, but I
yeah.
I have a feeling the fact that they're open sourcing it like this, I have a very strong sense that what they're kind of doing is saying, "Hey, here's the infrastructure for it. Someone else make it a thing."
Yeah.
And then that way there can be some competing UIs that maybe uh, do more with it. And
Mhm.
very crucially, I think part of this is also going to be like giving, like if Apple does this, they're probably not going to point it at Docker's repository, and more importantly, they'll probably only support their own, which will have nothing in it, or very little in it. Obviously, not nothing. Whereas I think if other people come along, they'll probably point to Docker's repository, but more
Yeah.
importantly, I think they're also going to try to uh, start supporting other repos that are not under Docker's management. Which,
Yeah, this is sort of like desktop Linux distribution situation
yeah.
where a lot of them are just going to use Ubuntu's repos, but some of them do want to, try doing their own thing.
Well,
Um,
and I'm not necessarily pushing for anyone to do their own thing so much as I'm hoping that there's kind of a someone else will pop up with like, "Hey, we're doing this thing over here, and we're not the guys who've been doing it because they suck."
mhm.
Which very genuinely, I hate Docker's repository too, just because like the documentation and the format that it's in, what they show on the page, it sucks. It's just messy. It needs to be done by somebody who knows what they're doing. And yeah, I I don't think Apple wants to be the company that runs that, and I think someone else out there does. And so hopefully that starts happening.
Yeah, I mean, this is a thing Apple's been doing, and also Microsoft is they're recognizing the need for like development things built into the OS. Like
Hmm.
their container thing is like a front end for an API that exists in newer versions of macOS, and it's the same thing with like other VM features they put into macOS. And in Microsoft's case, like WSL is something that they've spent years iterating on because they recognize that Windows needs to be able to run Linux software because development on native Windows is really annoying and bad. Um, so, again, it is very silly that we've ended up where all desktop software is either Chrome or a Linux kernel, but that's just how it ended.
I don't
Uh,
know that that's the worst thing. I get it from the sense of like innovation can sometimes be bred from uh, more variability and more like different approaches. But I think there came a point where if like the Linux kernel was just kind of obviously the predominant like method or approach for doing a lot of this stuff, and it's better if we just focus more work towards improving that rather than just trying to come up with different ways to re-accomplish the same things.
yeah. And WSL is very nice. Um, Again, and it's still on Windows though, so you still have to be using Windows, but
Yeah.
you know
It,
that's fine.
well, it's the same as I would have said about PowerShell. PowerShell is really, really pretty damn cool compared to the command line, but yeah, you kind of really need to be using Windows. And yes,
Yeah,
I know
I
there are PowerShell implementations that are for Mac and Linux, but come on, how many people are really
yeah
using those?
yeah. Well, me sort of, because I
That's
my
different, and you know it.
my my just the browser project was the first time I actually like needed to make a somewhat complex PowerShell script because the Windows version is PowerShell, the Mac and Linux is just a Bash script. And I understand why PowerShell is better than Bash because it's like 3 decades newer,
Uh-huh.
or at
And
least
it's
the
readable and
versions I'm
uses anything resembling modern programming approaches. Yeah.
right. Yeah, you're not just kind of shifting, piping things eternally. But it is, again, I understand why it's like that. It's pretty good. If I could just make like one version that was PowerShell, I would probably do it and just unify all the code and like tell Mac and Linux people to go download PowerShell first. But that's really annoying, and I already have the Bash version done, so I'm not gonna do that. But like I've thought about it,
Yeah, I get
because
that.
it's fine, honestly. And like if I need to make a like some kind of script thing in the future that like I don't want to use Node for, that would be the next thing I pick, because it is I do have it, I do have PowerShell core on my Mac. But um, yeah, it is better. But yeah, so it always shocks me when Microsoft makes like a good piece of software, which again, better than Bash. So the bar is really low, and maybe that's why it impressed me. Um, yeah, yeah. So that's it for that, and I will also go now.
Okay.
It is now
Um
9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock, and it's still 88 degrees outside.
yeah. Well, yeah, it's on my side it's 6 o'clock, and it's not necessarily that warm outside, but it's warming up in here quite a bit because I have multiple screens, multiple devices, multiple lights all on, so it's getting a little
Hmm.
uncomfy. So I think I'm actually going to call it here too. Besides,
Yep.
I actually still have basically nothing of interest to say about Microsoft extending the uh, the extended update program. I have nothing to say about the Slate truck. I've seen this mentioned a lot in the last few days, but I paid zero attention. I don't have a lot to say on EVs yet.
Yep.
And the one thing I can say about smart things adding a price to their API is Samsung bad. Bad Samsung.
many such cases.
Yeah. So I've just summarized my thoughts on the remaining three topics that we had. So with that, oh, I noticed I've been clipping my head off for the last little while. Anyway, with that, I think it's a good time for both of us to go. So, um, let's see. As always, thanks everyone for coming by and hanging out, being in the chat. Zen, welcome, welcome to the channel. Hope you enjoyed. If anyone would like to support the channel and uh, provide financial support, as it were, there are links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. And yes, I still need to fix the Streamlabs Streamlabs PayPal integration. I know it's been forever. I've been saying I need to do this. I will do that. Anyway, and of course, huge thanks to supporters of the channel: David, Diablo, Austin, Carson, and Alyssa. Y'all are awesome human beings. And let's see, I will be back this weekend with some game streams. Probably Overwatch, but the way it's been going, I kind of actually want to stream something else and not reward Overwatch for being super crappy with their events. If you want to hear more about that, I'll rant about it again this weekend. And then next week we'll be back with another RambleCast. So I hope everyone in... Oh, Corbin, is there anything you want to pitch, push, publish, or mention before we go?
Well, maybe I can play Overwatch with you because I think my PC stopped being stupid. I went through a whole saga to figure out why things were crashing, and
Yeah,
I
I've been
swapped a bunch of
reading-
hardware pieces. Legitimately, the most difficulty I've had with a technical something in as long as I can remember. Like, it's just completely unsolvable. It seems to be fine now. We'll see. We'll see when it decides to break again, because it probably will.
Yeah, it really looks like you went through the same hell I did when I got an Alienware laptop many years ago. It was just nonstop trying to fix issues.
I guess to plug, I'll put this in the YouTube chat. This is a thing I'm working on for my job. Is a tool called Byline, which will hopefully be a way for people to get all of their articles they have written for various sites in one easy spreadsheet, and then back them up if they want to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember you doing this when you worked at AP and then later at How to Geek.
Yeah, so hopefully that will... I have like most of the core functionality done. A lot of the recent work has been on a web UI because hopefully we'll put it on a server somewhere and let it function if you give it an API key. So that's... I'll eventually have like a real announcement for that when it's done. It's not done now, but it kind of exists. And I guess the only other thing to plug is there's a Tech Tales episode that is like half edited that will hopefully be out soon. And I also just finished a new website for it, which is no longer at its own domain. It's just a page on my website that has big buttons for all the places you can go listen to it and all of the episodes. And I pushed on this very call the commit to let you listen to the recent episodes from that page, and just a little audio player right there. How cool is that? I love RSS. RSS and static site generators. They're great.
Indeed.
That's all.
All right. Sounds good. Well, with that, again, thanks everyone for coming by and hanging out. Go check out Tech Tales when the new episode comes out, or rather, subscribe now. That way you find out when the new episode comes out, without having to come here and find out about it from us. But then you should also come back here next time we're streaming, because that's good too. Also, yeah, no, there's no also. That's it. So I hope everyone has an excellent rest of their week. And we'll see you this weekend. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.